Hi Steve, I'm Amy. It's very nice to meet you.
I'm Steve. How are you?
Good. Just take a seat and make yourself feel comfortable.
Thank you.
So just before we get started through anything, and I guess talk a little bit more about why you're here today, we're just going to go through a counselling plan. So this will be, I guess, goals as to where you want to head and where you're at right now. But before we do get into that, I've just got to get you to sign this. It's just a confidentiality form. So that's just anything that is said in this session today or any time in the future. It just pretty much says that it stays in this room and it's safe. So yeah, we're not going to go home and tell our families or tell anybody else. What you say here is completely confidential.
Yep.
Unless if you just want to sign that. There is some limitations, and that is if you are at risk of harm or someone else is at risk of harm, and that is when we do have to notify somebody higher, whether that be a police officer or something, to make sure that you are safe and that other person is. So you're happy with that?
Yep. Sure.
Alright. And that's just the client consent to release information form. So if there is something that we need to talk, if you're working with another organisation that we may refer you to, that you nominate that person to have the information that you tell us. So is there anyone that you would like to have down there? It could be a family member, or it could be a local GP that you see, or you're just happy to, we can go through this later.
No, I'd rather just confidential.
Alright, great. And you've already done the counselling intake form, so that was just the basics of your name, your gender,
Yep.
and your emergency contact. So you've
Yep.
done all that before you came in, which was really good. So I guess now it's more so about what brought you in here today.
Yep. I do have a gambling issue.
Yep. So I guess how long have you been gambling for?
Well, probably the last 20 years.
20 years?
20 years.
And I guess how did it always start off as a...
No, it was always a bit of fun. Just a bit of start, the fun, then with, as you get older, time, pressures, everything else, I just, it is what it is. And at first I didn't realise it was a problem.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was any issues. I thought, $20 here, $20 there, no big deal. And next week I thought I'll put $30 on, $30, to try and make, win back that $20 I lost the previous week. And then it just seems to, well, like I said, it didn't feel like it got out of hand, but now I do believe it is with other issues I have.
Yeah. So I guess it's taken quite a toll.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Family toll. 2 of my kids won't talk to me anymore.
Yeah.
My wife's about to shoot me.
Yeah.
Friends, I've lost a lot of friends through asking for money.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all those type of things, but yeah.
And I imagine that's pretty overwhelming and tough at times.
Extremely tough, especially when you go to work and everyone seems to be dodging you.
Yeah.
You thought you had everyone, everyone had your back at work and at home, but it feels like becoming more and more lonely. But
yeah. And I guess, would you say that you feel more isolated? Like, where would you say that your mood is on the day-to-day?
Yeah, I think you do. You do feel isolated in a sense that, sometimes, I don't know. It's just one of those things. I don't know if it's depression or what it is. Sometimes your brain plays silly things. So, but
yeah. So I just want to know, I know that you mentioned before that your wife is obviously very upset with you and your kids aren't talking, and that's really tough to lose those people close to you. But are you still living with your wife and kids, or?
No. Not as, probably 3 months ago. 3 months ago, I was basically given the ultimatum to go. So, that was pretty tough, and that's sort of what has drawn me to try and seek help.
Yeah.
So, it's no, I'm not living with my wife or at home anymore. I'm living with friends.
Yeah. I've got to say that it is very, it takes a lot of courage to actually admit that and then come in here and actually seek help. So, that's really good of you that you've come in here today. But as for the housing, you did say that you're living with friends. Now, I'm assuming that would I be correct to assume that your wife won't be letting you back in?
Through previous discussions we've had, she's basically said get help.
Yeah.
That was the ultimatum: get help or get out.
Yeah.
So
I guess at the moment, how's your friend with you staying there?
Yeah, okay. They are understanding, but it's only short term.
Yeah. Because it would be great if you needed a helping hand in having more of a stable home, then we're able to help out with that area. We're able to get you a home and refer you to Auschcare. So that'll be able to help you with the gambling side of things, because I guess we can have a talk every week or every fortnight or wherever or whenever you are comfortable to come back in. But Auschcare will be able to help out with the housing and the gambling. So they have specialised people who work in that area.
Okay.
But yes, I think that would be really good. And do you have, I guess, their short-term goals to be living in a more stable home? Do you have any long-term goals?
Obviously, to get back with my family.
Yeah.
Sort of mend those bridges that have been burnt down over the last probably 18 months, 2 years. So that's a long term. Short term is to understand my problems and find out, get help.
Yeah. So I guess, as you said, long term is to recover from gambling.
Absolutely.
And get back with the family, which is really good. So I guess, as I said, Auschcare will be able to help you with housing, because we definitely don't want your friends to get pissed off at you and then say, all right, it's time for you to get out as well. But how are things going at work?
Yeah, good.
Yeah?
Yeah, all day-to-day sort of stuff, the standard pressures you're under for achieving goals at the end of weeks and months and all those, all that sort of thing. I suppose it's, work's work.
Yeah. What job is it that you actually do?
Well, I turn up every day. It's in civil construction.
Yeah.
So, it's fairly mentally testing every day. But I enjoy it, and it pays the bills. Well, some of them.
Yeah. And how long have you been in that area of work for? In
35
construction?
years.
Oh, wow. And I guess so for majority of that, since you started being paid, you had started the gambling, I guess, for a long time. Yeah,
like I said before, it was one of those things. $10 here, $20 there, the odd horse here. When you're in basically a man environment, we were all talking about who won on the races last week and that sort of thing. So, you always think, oh well, I just gained an interest in it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always turn out to be the right way. So, which it isn't.
So I guess you mentioned before that over the past 12 to 18 months you were having some issues with the wife. Why do you think that over only the past couple of years it has taken such a toll, more so in the last 2 years rather than over the whole 20 years? What is it in the past 2 years do you think has been a main issue for her and yourself in the relationship?
I think for myself, the last 2 years, it's starting to unravel a little bit with hiding things. The constant phone calls for mortgage repayments and that sort of thing. It's just got out of hand. I've sort of probably lost it a little bit by not being able to hide it as much now. So now it's basically just continually coming out, and with credit cards maxing out and everything else maxing out, it's just I find that's it's just got on top of both of us, and I think on her behalf, I think she realises where her life's heading as well. So, you know, that's probably, she's thinking, well, she doesn't want to be an old pensioner with nothing, you know, so, and I've gambled it all away, so I suppose, yeah, that's how I would probably say it's affected both of us and how it's all come to a head in this short term, even though I have had a little play prior.
Yeah. So you mentioned there's been a fair few things that you've lost, and it's come on financial pressures with mortgage and everything like that. So I'm just wondering on, I guess, how you got here today, and if transport is an issue at all.
Yeah. Today I had a mate drop me off.
Yeah.
But as I said, I got kicked out of home 3 months ago, and I suppose the reason behind that is when I got my car repossessed. And so I haven't got a car, and so I'm relying on friends, work colleagues to run me to and from work, which just becomes an absolute hassle, relying on other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and I hate public transport.
Yeah.
Working off timetables, all of that sort of crap, and you really don't understand and realise until you've lost what you've had that how all that sort of works with your life, you know, stuffs you around. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at with all of that.
So just relying on mates, pretty much.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's wearing thin too.
Yeah.
You always find, I find that they've got their own families to look after, and you become a bit of a liability, so that you don't go out, you tend to not go out as much and do as much. It's just just sort of try and stay indoors.
So I guess the good news out of that is that when you like, if you do choose to come back here and see me, then we do provide the transport via taxi vouchers.
Yep.
So if that relieves any stress with your mates, so that I guess pressure isn't on you to have to rely on them. We will provide you with taxi vouchers so that you can get to these kind of appointments. And but I guess in saying what you said before, that it's wearing a bit thin and you feel like a bit of a liability, how is that going with your are you feeling like a bit of a burden at all?
Oh well, absolutely. When it all comes to a crunch and you don't sleep in your own bed, you feel as if there's no future. You're relying on friends to pick you up, work colleagues. You're relying on somebody else to provide a roof over your head. Definitely all. Not fun at all.
Yeah. I could only imagine that it must be extremely tough for you at this time. And it's really good though to hear that you must have amazing friends that still stand by you.
Yeah, there are some good people.
Yeah. So we're almost done here, but I was just wondering what you think your life would look like without having this gambling addiction.
Oh, I'd probably still have my wife and family and still have my car.
Yeah.
I feel I'd be feeling better about myself. That's the whole idea of coming.
Yeah.
Of making the move, and I suppose having the courage and the understanding and a realisation that I'm doing something wrong, and to hopefully get the professional help that's needed. So.
Yeah, and I guess that without the gambling, then that would help the financial difficulties, and you'd have that more money to be able to buy that new car.
Absolutely, but when I was in that being in that situation, you don't realise that, because every week you think I've lost that last week, but I've got to put this in to try and win that back from last week.
Yeah.
You don't realise the situation until more than just your wallet's empty. It's your family and everything else, and your possessions, and that are all taken away from you. And then you start realising that that you need
the power that it has. Yes, and that is addiction is such a powerful thing that rarely anyone can actually recognise that they do have an addiction until some pretty terrible things have happened. But as I said before, it is really good that you've made it in here today. So yeah, I guess that what our aim is to support you in making those decisions to allow you to have that, I guess, more stable housing, and to be able to talk through, I guess, what it is that you get out of gambling and what you want to get rid of, and what you want the future to be like, and how we can work on.
That's good. That's great.
Yeah. So I guess that brings us to an end. It was really nice to meet you, Steve. So I guess is there anything that you wanted to add? Anything, would you like to come back and see me in a fortnight's time?
Absolutely. I think you're an easy person to talk to, and it's I can offload what I'm thinking without any prejudice or anyone yelling at me.
Yeah.
So it's good to be able to talk to somebody about a situation and hopefully be pointed in the right direction.
Yeah, and that's really good. So hopefully we can work with you on that, and hopefully we're able to help you out.
Okay.
So all right, thanks for coming in today.
No worries. Thank you.